Welcome to do-it-yourself miners, solar, crypto stuff. I just like playing around with different things. As you're aware, Syncrobit went bankrupt, or their CEO died, or got killed. I have no idea. But anyways, so what I have here is the Syncrobit miner. I custom drilled it because they ran so hot because they were pieces of crap. They actually were a good miner, but they ran hot. Anyways, so I'm going to show you guys today how to install the Nebra firmware on this thing. You can do it through a board that you can get on Amazon. This is an eMMC, I believe, one. So I've kind of opened this thing already, but 4 screws on the bottom. And then, yeah, so you remove that, open it up. Of course, you guys don't want to watch me unscrewing stuff. And then there'll be, then you'll pull it out. This wire right here will be attached and it just pops right off. Just pop that off and separate this. And put that off to the side. And then there'll be 4 screws on the bottom. And you'll pop that off. And then what we have here is the board, the Raspberry Pi board. And some people might be intimidated by this, but it's actually pretty easy. So what you do is you just pry it kind of evenly on both sides, and you pop this little board off this board. And just kind of pay attention. Take a picture of how it was put together before you do this, probably. And then here you have the Raspberry Pi board here. And the hard drive is kind of built onto this. As you can see, there's an SD spot, but that does nothing. Everything has to be done on this board. So what I found on Amazon is a mini in-out board. And it's right here. It's this company here. And yeah, so what I did is I take this board and I take this chip, and see there's more chips on this side. Just put it to the side. I don't know if it makes a difference, but I put it to the side with all the pin connectors. So, and then you kind of just line up the holes on there, and then you push it in, and you'll hear a snap, and you have to make sure it snaps in there good. And then when we apply this, we take this and we have to make sure that this is turned to on for the boot. It'll boot to this thing and it'll run the firmware. So I'll go to my computer and show you a couple pieces of software you need. I believe one's called USB something, and the other one's the Raspberry Pi boot up firmware installer. Imager, Raspberry Pi Imager. The other thing you might want to watch too when you're pulling this off is there's these little gold things that they're spacers, I believe, to keep the board off. So just make sure those don't fall out. Well, I can put them in after, but make sure you don't lose them. Anyways, we'll go to the computer and I'll show you guys the rest.
If you head over to Amazon.com or Amazon.ca, you'll find the board you need. It's an I/O board. It allows you to flash the eMMC. I'll post a link in the description below. So you're going to need 3 pieces of software, and you can find 2 of them this way. I go to Google and I type Nebra Syncrobit. It'll say getting started with Syncrobit, Nebra. Click that. And the first one you need is, if you go to step 1B, you can click where it says USB boot. And here you'll go and download the boot software that allows you to connect the board. So you hit code and you hit download zip. And the important file when you unzip this is the Win32 file. That's the one you'll want to install on the Windows operating system. There is a way to do it with Apple and Linux, but that involves some other coding. If I go back here, so you do the one step B, USB boot, and then you scroll down on this website to step 3. Now step 3 has the firmware that you'll need. So instead of clicking get started here, what I did is I just head to this line right here. It says for detailed instructions on how to use Nebra Helium Syncrobit, check out our GitHub repo. You can download the old code. It's right here, download zip, or you can head over to the releases on the far right, and it says latest release is February 4th, 2023. Click that plus, and so here's the date, and you just click this Helium Syncrobit. It's 619 megabytes. Click that and download. So those are 2 pieces of software you need, and I'll show you the third one you'll need. The last piece of software you'll need is the Raspberry Pi Imager. So I just go to Google, type in Imager, Raspberry Pi Imager. It pulls up this website, Raspberry Pi OS. I click that and it gives us some software here. And right here, this big bold box, you just hit download for Windows, and then you can download the one for Mac and the one for Linux. And those are the 3 pieces of software that you need. And then the next thing will be showing you how to run all 3 pieces of the software.
So after you install all 3 pieces of software, you'll want to take a USB-C to USB and plug it in. It's gonna light up, and then it'll pop up on your computer as a drive. And from there, I'll show you guys what you need to do. One thing you want to make sure is when you're flashing this board that this switch is turned to on. So I believe if you have a jumper, you want to put the jumper on, and that will boot this thing into the flashing mode.
So from there, you'll want to open RPI boot. This is the first piece of software that you'll use. This is USB boot or boot USB. And it finds this eMMC board. The next step from there, you want to hit cancel here. This is the old operating system on there. From there, you'll want to go to the Raspberry Pi Imager. And this is where you choose the firmware that you downloaded earlier. So you will scroll down to use custom, and don't mind the movies, Ted Lasso, and then there's the Helium Syncrobit. And let's see the file size. I want that big one there, 619 megabytes. So I guess I've downloaded it lots of times. And then our storage will be the Raspberry Pi. And then I will hit write. All existing data will be erased. Are you sure? Yes. So from there, we wait. It's writing the new OS, and I will come back when that's done writing.
So after it's done installing, just take your I/O board, take the Raspberry Pi chip back on, reinstall it back onto the board, install it pretty much the opposite way that you took it off. The one thing you want to make sure is these little spacers are in here, and then you'll snap that back on there. And make sure it clicks. You want to hear a good connection. And then we'll put that back on. I believe it goes across that way. Then put it back in its case and then plug it in. Like I said, hardwire it. You probably don't need to see me do all that, but anyways, if you like the videos, please subscribe and give it a like. After your 4 screws are connected on the back, just make sure this antenna is plugged right back on there. It just snaps back on there. And then make sure your fan's connected. I think I upgraded this fan too to a quieter one. The other one was so loud.